with that, we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Nikki, at I think 4:05, at least that's what my computer says. Nikki or Murray, if you could take a roll call vote, roll call attendance, please.
I can. Let's see here. Eric Housley,
Present.
Arvin Nishal,
Yep, present.
Barbara Franco,
Present.
Courtney Garcia,
Present.
Danielle Barreca,
Present.
Greg Bennett,
Present.
Hector Gallegos,
Present.
Josh Schultz,
Present.
Leon Browning. I saw Leon. Leon Browning.
Said that he had lost his screen.
I just had to make him a panelist again.
Looks like he
I'll come back. Ted Ward,
Present.
Wade Woodward,
Present.
Evan Versalini,
Here.
Sylvia Regalado Zashlod, Sylvia, Stephen Green,
Present.
perfect, and Leon Browning.
Yes, here.
Perfect, thank you. We do have a quorum.
We have a quorum, so we are ready to go. At this time, I'd like to ask Arvin Nishal to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and if everyone could just please stand, and we'll do that, please. Arvin? Arvin, could you lead us in the Pledge
To
of?
start,
Yep, go ahead.
Pledge allegiance.
can you do it for
To
me?
the flag.
Because my-
America,
Flag.
America, and liberty and justice for all.
Which is
Liberty and
United
justice
States
for
of
all.
America.
America,
And to the republic
republic,
for which it stands.
one nation,
One nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and all.
justice.
All right.
Sorry, thank you,
All right, thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Okay. Hopefully people have had a chance to take a look at the agenda. And if I could get a motion to accept the agenda for this evening's meeting, please. Anybody?
I filed the motion for that.
Okay, we have
Second.
a motion from Arvin. And if I could get a second,
Second. From Eric.
Eric,
Eric, yeah.
all in favor, say aye.
Yeah,
Aye.
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 All right, looks like we are ready to go with the agenda. The second item that we have is to approve the minutes from the last meeting. I am looking for a clarification, Mike or Rosanna, if anyone on the team. In the minutes, on the second page, under 5.1, it talks about the recommendation of the disposition of the Carneros property, which was really what the committee worked on at the last meeting. We asked for a motion. Wade Woodworth made a motion to surplus the property, but I believe the other part of that motion was to surplus the property for sale. In the redraft report on page 3, it does give the committee's recommendation as the committee finds and recommends that the board surplus the Carneros property for sale. So I want to, I guess, Mike, if I could get some guidance from either you or Rosanna or Kelly.
Yeah, I think I would like to defer to Kelly Ram. Kelly, could you, in reviewing the minutes, it does look like, I mean, it does say the recommendation is for the surplus of the property. It doesn't say surplus for sale, and I'm not sure if that clarification needs to be added to the minutes.
Yeah, I can address that. So my recollection on that issue was that Chair Franco had asked for a motion to surplus the site for sale. And the committee member Woodward, I believe it was, then said, I'll make the motion to surplus the site. I think it's fair to take that as a implying that he was making the recommendation or the motion as it was recommended, but we could certainly ask that that is confirmed now. And if the committee would like to note any of that in the minutes and approve revised minutes, that would be appropriate.
Okay, so Kelly, do we just make that correction or do we have to vote again? I guess we would have to vote again or make a motion because we'll make a motion for that correction in the minutes.
Right. I don't think you need to vote on the recommendation again unless the committee member wants to let us know if that was inaccurate in terms of what his motion was intended to be. And then as far as tonight's meeting, a motion could be made to amend the minutes, from the last meeting to make clear that the motion was to surplus the property for sale.
So then I would like to amend the minutes of the August 24th meeting to show that the motion was the motion was made to surplus the property for sale. I would like to amend that in the minutes.
I can make that motion, Barbara. I don't think you're allowed to make the motion when you're the chair, if I'm correct. So, but I can make the motion because I remember it even was brought up about the surplus for lease or for sale, surplus for sale. So I could make the motion to specify that it was surplus for sale. Is that okay, Wade, for you?
Yeah, I'll second that. That's the way I understood our motion to begin with.
Okay, so we just want to be sure that the minutes properly reflect what it was that we voted on, particularly since when we look at the report tonight, the motion is properly written in the report as we voted on. So I think that would be a good thing for us to do. So we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I seconded. Oh, sorry.
Okay, so Wade, Woodward is a second. So all in favor of amending the minutes to reflect that the motion was made to surplus the property for sale? We don't have to do a roll call on that, right? Do we, Kelly?
You should,
Okay.
you can, if it's all in favor, then that you can show that, and then there doesn't have to be a roll call, but
All in favor of making that motion or that amendment to the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, aye.
Okay, all right. So thank you very much. That is, now that that's corrected, we need to go back, or amended, we need to go back and accept the minutes of the August 24th meeting. So with that, is there a motion for the acceptance of the minutes as amended?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Great, thank you, Greg. Is there,
second that.
and that was,
Ed
okay. And-
Ward.
Okay, Ed, thank you. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. So now the minutes are corrected and we have accepted minutes. We now move on to item number 2, which is a public comment from members of the community who would like to speak on any item that is not on the agenda. And as committee members, we will listen and hear what people have to share with us. And Nikki, do we have any one waiting to make a public comment?
I do not see any public comment at this time.
Okay. Thank you, Nikki. All right. Thank you very much. Now we'll move to item number 3, which is the presentation and is our discussion time to look at the report, the draft report that you received in an email, I think on Friday and again this morning. And Nikki, can you put that draft report up on the screen, please?
I never got that email.
Yeah, I didn't receive it.
Okay. Well, the information part of it was sent out on Friday afternoon when the agenda was sent out, and the items appear in the agenda as an attachment. This morning, Vera sent out an email that had the 3 reports also as an attachment. But we're going to go through it page by page, and we're going to have time to discuss this draft report. So that's what this meeting, the purpose of this meeting is for us to look at the report that will go to the board of trustees on September 23rd and make sure that we are comfortable, that we don't have any other questions that we want to ask about the Carneros property. And then we will also vote on approving the report to go to the board. So I want to just be sure that everyone on the committee is able to have their questions answered, and we will, as a committee, make a recommendation to approve this report to move forward to the board. So if you haven't had a chance to see it, that's okay. We'll have plenty of time to get through it, and everyone will be able to have input so that they're comfortable with the report moving forward.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Are you saying we've already presented something to the Board of Trustees on the 23rd of September? Because the 23rd of September is a couple of weeks away. Or am I wrong?
No, this is just a draft of the report that staff and Eric and I worked on last week, reflecting what the committee has done. This report won't go forward to the board without the approval of the 7-Eleven committee. And it goes forward to the board as a recommendation. The board ultimately.
Okay, I see it now. I have it. Thank you very much.
Okay.
It would be great. I'm sorry to interrupt Chair Franco, but it'd be great. Any of you that didn't have the opportunity, if you could pull it up. The email did go out this morning, and maybe you can have your Zoom up and your report up in front of you as well. Though we're gonna walk it through.
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna walk it.
Clarification, Chair Franco, I just looked, we definitely received it on Friday from Vera. At least I did. That's when I received mine, and it looks like it's the whole 7-Eleven committee attached. So
Yeah.
just, I know it went out, so I don't know if it's spammed, but.
Yeah. Well, like I said, and like Dr. Musetti just said, we're gonna walk through it page by page, word by word, because this will represent our work moving forward to the board, who will make the final decision on the disposition of the property at Carneros. Okay. So with that, let's just go through page 1. What the report does, it provides the board with an overview of our work. It provides the board with an overview of the information that was shared to us by Dr. Musetti and Dr. Musetti's team, so that we were able to make an informed decision about the property out at Carneros. And this is a summary of each of our meetings. And it will, I think, it's pretty straightforward in terms of the work that we did, but that is what our job was. And, we're ready now to complete this report. So talks in the introduction here. I'll just briefly go through this. We'll get through one page, and then we're going to stop and make sure that people are comfortable with the language. So last June, the board reconvened the 7-Eleven committee, that's us, this group, to work in an advisory and recommending role in terms of looking at property that the district no longer needs for school purposes. The committee was formed, people filled out an application. We've all fulfilled, so you can see that part. If you could scroll down, Nikki. It summarizes for the board the purpose of the committee, how many people, you can stop there, Nikki, thank you. How many people can be members. It's from a minimum of 7 to a maximum of 11. With those of us fulfilling certain roles as identified by California law to be a member on this committee, so that we have a breadth of people looking at the issue of this surplus of property from varying different lenses of all of you on the committee. It tells us, it continues on and reminds the board that what our duties are and the tasks that we needed to engage in. We looked at the projected school enrollment of Carneros Elementary School. We looked at the property, the buildings on the property, the size of the property. We looked and became very informed around where the earthquake fault sits on that property. We gained an understanding of how the Department of State architects work with regard to approving any buildings that are within, I forget what it was, Mike, 100 feet of a
Correct. No build zone.
a fault line. We also had a map that we looked at that clearly showed where the gas line laid on, I believe it was the north side of the property. So we were provided with data from Dr. Musetti and her team regarding their recommendation as to why this property should be surplus, particularly with regards to enrollment. Carneros was closed in 2011, I believe was the last year that students were on that property. And it was used up until last year by Stonebridge Elementary School, Stonebridge Charter, that moved out to Mount George, the Mount George property. So the district then moved, you can move on to the next page, Nikki. And then when we get to, okay, thank you, Nikki, that's perfect. Let's see, lost my thought there. But we looked at attendance. We had a report that showed us the different types of businesses and the different types of uses with the current status of that property could be put on that property, what someone could build on that property, the different types of buildings that could be built there. So now we're going to stop right here to where it says forward to the district governing board a report recommending the uses of the surplus space and real property.
Could I ask a question, please?
Yes, sir.
Where does it says here, establish a priority list of use of surplus space and real property that will be acceptable to the community. Where is that list?
I believe that the listing of the acceptable uses for that property was a part in the report that we received. Keller reviewed it with us. It was the parcel report. Was it included in the?
It was in the second presentation and it's on page.
Agriculture watershed district, the report that listed all of the acceptable uses.
Well, how do we know that it's acceptable to the community? The priority list that we submitted, if we did, and I don't remember seeing it.
Okay, Leon, let me just, Mike, the document I'm looking at is the chapter 18.20, the agricultural watershed district, and it lists the uses allowed without a permit and the uses allowed with a permit. Am I looking at the right doc?
Yeah, you're looking at the right doc. It's not Leon, it's not prioritized from there. That just what we shared with the committee was what the property could be used for based on the current zoning restrictions in this particular area on that. Kelly, Rem, I would defer to you as far as, you know, in the report, it does that we've presented. We do have something where it says establish a priority list of use of surplus and real property that'll be acceptable to the community. I would think that what we're saying is the surplus is that the committee's recommending to sell it, but I don't know if I have an incorrect interpretation of that, or if you have a clarification on that second bullet in the draft report.
Yeah, so this language is a bit antiquated, but the way, first of all, there's kind of two parts to it. One is circulating the priority list of surplus space, and the second is providing for hearings of community input regarding acceptable use. So the hearings for community input is where we offer public, we invite public comment during these meetings. And that's where the community members can attend and can provide their input on acceptable use. So that's happened at all of the meetings that we've had. As far as the priority list of surplus space, I would agree that's generally interpreted to mean what are the acceptable uses of the site in question. And that's what was provided to the committee and circulated via agenda posting to the community in terms of how that property can be used. So that's how I would say this particular bullet has been complied with here. The list itself is not required to be in the report. That's just something that occurs throughout the meetings.
Does that clarify, Leanne?
No, not really. I mean, I've been around the real estate community in Napa County for 40 years, and I've never seen anything like this. How are people to know that what our list is will be acceptable to the community? I don't understand that comment.
I think.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say again, I think those are two separate things. So the committee is circulating a list, and obviously district staff has to facilitate that, which it did by preparing the presentations. Separate and apart from that, there are opportunities for public hearings or public comment where the community can provide their input about acceptable use, what the community feels is acceptable. And that was done at each of the meetings. The community was invited to attend and provide comment, which we had pretty limited comment in this round.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments from the committee on clarification on this topic?
On page 3, the first point there, cause to have circulated throughout the attendance area a priority list of surplus space and real property. Where's the list?
I believe the list is what the agricultural watershed district says can be built on that property with a permit and without a permit. That would be my understanding. It's 4 pages long.
Leon, if I'm understanding it correctly, and I don't know if this will help, this is the first part of this report is kind of what we were tasked to do. So we received the list when we discussed the possibility, when I brought up the idea of leasing the property. So there was a list of possible things that could go on there, which we didn't see a whole lot that would give option to add to a better lease option. And that's when we started discussing the sale of it. So this would be what we were tasked to do, not what we are tasked to give back as a report, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments so far on so that we're just clear about what our role has been? Our role is to recommend what to do with the property. And that's what we have done. And that's what this report will reflect. We're forwarding to the governing board the report recommending the surplus and sale of the Carneros property. And it's just a recommendation. The board makes the final decision. All right. So I want to be, as we move forward, I want just to make sure that we understand what we're doing here. Yes, Leon.
Where's the report recommending uses of surplus space and real property? It says we send a report to the governing board. Where is it? I haven't
That's what we're working on right now. This is the report we're working on right now.
Okay. This is so complex. I don't think the average person can understand any of this stuff.
In terms of process, Leon, or in terms of the content of the report?
Well, the content of the report has nothing. I can't find the things that you're saying that you have, that you provided, that you've listed. So how does the average person in the community find this stuff? Or are we just working off of legalese that nobody can understand?
That's a fair question. So all the material, so what we've referenced and some of the things that you've inquired about are all the material for all of these meetings where this content was all nested in is all available on the district's website on the 7-Eleven page. So you know, they're public meetings. I understand and share your interest in wanting to make sure that everything is accessible and transparent to the community. And I appreciate your advocacy around that. If people want to get engaged around the topic, they have to attend the meetings, the 7-Eleven public meetings, and then access the public material, which
They have to ask the questions I'm asking, right?
Yeah. So we've made it all very, very accessible. And if at any point, you know, you know, at any juncture in this work unfolding, they have the opportunity to do that. So
Okay,
everything's made accessible and available.
thank you.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
And just to add to that, all of the board members also will receive all of the handouts and documents that we've received as committee members. So they will not just have this report. They'll have copies of the maps that we looked at, the explanation of the parcel report. They'll have the agricultural watershed district, what can be built, what needs a permit, what doesn't need a permit. So the board doesn't just look at this report. They are going to also review all of the documents that we received as committee members. Is that correct, Dr. Musetti?
Absolutely.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, the board will do a thorough review. And again, we even have trustees on observing meetings. And when they don't, they've also reviewed the video archive. So the board will go fully, the governance team that we currently have, our 7 trustees, will go into the decision-making fully informed by the advisory recommendations and the work that this committee has done over the course of the last couple of months.
And then also to add to that, public comment will be solicited throughout the board meeting when the board begins their discussion on this agenda item. So again, if people are interested, they'll have the opportunity to comment to the board.
Yes, and there will be a presentation item where we will ask you and Vice Chair Housley to present a summary to the board. So that'll be a presentation discussion item for the board, and then there will be the action item around where they take action on the recommendation. So there will be opportunity in the formal board business meeting for the public to also engage and weigh in there if they desire.
All right. It's good. Look, we're going to continue forward and we'll stop along the way. Just raise your hand and we'll stop and clarify anything that we need to. So we're now still talking about, we're in the middle of the page here on, I think it's page 2, page 3. Thank you, Mike. And we're looking at, thank you, Nikki. Upon appointment, the district's board specifically charged the committee with considering future use or disposition of specific property identified by the district staff. First identified the property. Oh, I've got all these things over here. Identified property by district staff located at 1680 Los Carneros Avenue, Napa, California. This is our 3rd meeting. We met on August 10th. The 24th, we're meeting today on September 7th. This report will go to the board on September 23rd. Eric and I will present that. We have allowed for public comment and input at each meeting. During these meetings, district staff and the consultants presented information regarding the property, district's enrollment analysis, projected enrollment trends, facilities, and real property considerations. So little paragraph here really provides a summary of what we all went through as a committee, learning more about the property at Carneros. And as Dr. Musetti shared, the board will see all of that in their preparation documents as they get ready for the meeting on the 23rd. And I do believe that some of the board members have been listening in on our last two meetings, and there are probably some listening again today. So I want to just we went through, as I said, the enrollment. Mike took us through the analysis of the Carneros enrollment, the decline in the enrollment trends out at Carneros, the status of the facilities, what's happened on that property since Stonebridge has been there, and then the kinds of real estate, the kinds of property considerations that property can be used for based on the agricultural watershed district, things that can be built there with a permit and things that can be built and facilitated there without a permit. Moving on, like I said, unless people just raise your hand, I don't see any hands raised at this point. Mike, help me with that if you can. Based upon the information presented to the 7-Eleven District Advisory Committee, including public input received, which we had no public input, the following findings and recommendations are presented to the board with regard to the property located at 1680 Carneros Avenue. The committee, Nikki, can you scroll up, please? Or down? There we go. Thank you. The committee finds and recommends that the board surplus the Carneros property for sale. That was the language that we just amended in the minutes. We, the members of the committee, appreciate the opportunity to serve the board in this important activity. We hope this report will assist the board with its decisions regarding the district. Respectfully submitted, and then that's our group there, the advisory committee. So the report is very brief, but this is what our responsibility was, and this is the report that we're looking at presenting to the board. So with that, I want to open it again back up to discussion with the board, with the members of the committee, and certainly any of the team, Rosanna's team or Dr. Musetti's team. Anybody open? And if I'm missing something, Dr. Musetti, let me know.
No, you are not.
Let me continue forward here. We are not doing anything with this yet, but I'm hopeful that you had maybe a brief moment to look through the agenda. Again, it follows that our charge today is to review the report, the information that's contained in the report, and make any changes that the committee sees need to be made to the report. Again, this is a draft. Once we complete this process, this will no longer be a draft, and this will be what will move forward to the board as our recommendation based on our 3 meetings. So with that, I want to encourage anybody on the committee to ask what you need to ask to feel comfortable with this report going forward.
Barb, on my side, just because we kind of went through this a little bit before separately, because we were tasked to do that too.
Yeah.
I appreciated the fact that that last part that says committee findings and recommendations, to kind of say like, okay, here's where We found everything up to that was how it was supposed to break down and how it was supposed to happen. And then post to that point is just our recommendation, which is very to the point. So I appreciate it that way. It doesn't mean that that's the way it should be for others, but I just, I think it's good because it says, here's our recommendations,
Right.
so.
Based on everything that we learned through this process about the Carneros property, we were informed by Dr. Massetti and her team about the property. Thank you, Eric. Any other comments from committee members that are present today?
This is Ted. I just wanted to say that, I appreciate you and Eric working on this document on our behalf, and the recommendation seems like a natural byproduct of the discussion that took place, especially the last meeting we had. I think Leon brought up some points around the lease versus sale. We had a pretty strong discussion about that to come to this agreement as a committee. So it seems like a natural evolution.
Okay, thank you, Ted.
Josh Schultz has his hand up, Chair Franco.
Okay, Mr. Schultz?
Yeah, just a thought. I'm fine with the report as is, but to Leon's concerns, would it be appropriate and okay to just add a comment, at the end of the section about the meetings that says all the meeting materials, including details on the property, can be found at XYZ, and put a link in there or on the district's website, so that if somebody's only exposure to this whole conversation is looking at this report, that they know that there's more for them to go find.
Kelly, would that be something appropriate for us to include?
I think it would be appropriate. The one concern I have is, this report will exist for the rest of time with regard to this property. I'm looking at one that's from the 70s. So I'd have to defer to staff on whether that's, that website with all of the materials will always be available. So we can talk about what the most appropriate way to address that is, but I do like the suggestion and think it would be appropriate to at least reference the fact that all of these materials were also made available to the public on the district's website. Absolutely.
Yeah, and okay, you're talking 70, that's 50 years ago. I don't know what's going to happen in 50 years, especially after the last 2 years. But the district will do its due diligence in terms of whatever the medium is for archiving. So I think it's fine.
Okay, so I feel, just based on the conversations we've been having today, that that could meet the interests of some of the members of the committee, that perhaps we use the word materials are archived instead of putting in hyperlinks. I don't know, because I know there's things that you can search for the district keeps.
Yeah. Well, and I'd be fine with Kelly's suggested language of, all of these materials, meeting materials, were made available on the district's website.
Okay. And we don't have to do anything with it.
Yeah.
Okay. And where, Josh, where are you recommending? Can you remind me again where you're suggesting that go right here under committee?
Yeah, right before committee findings. So either part of or right after the paragraph before committee findings and recommendations.
Oh, okay. So right underneath the meetings. So we would just add that sentence right there. Would that?
Correct.
Okay. All right. We can do that. We can do that. Okay. Thank you. Any other comments that we have about, because this is our time to go through this, like I say, draft report. It's a very simple report. Okay. So with that report and that additional comment that will sit underneath the paragraph that talks about the committee meeting on August 10, 24, and 7, will add a sentence that says all meeting materials are available on the district website. Is that, Josh, is that correct?
Well, I was gonna be safe and say were made available on the district's
Okay,
website.
were made,
Is it true?
yeah.
Okay.
Even the meetings on YouTube, right?
Yeah, everything is on the district's website. Marie, do you have that? Marie McMurray
What are you asking specifically about, like the language that was just shared or
Yeah.
the?
has that recorded in the minutes for the, or
Yes.
in the report?
Yep.
Okay, great, great.
I do have it down.
Okay, thank you, Marie.
Mhm.
So with that addition to the report, do we have a motion to accept the report as written with the additional sentence added about materials being made available on the district's website?
I'll make that motion. It's Josh.
Okay, Josh, we make a motion.
I'll second it.
Arvin second. Mike, remind me, do I go
Chair
to,
Franco, you should do a roll call vote. Yes.
but do I go to public comment now or
You can go to
after?
public comment now. Yes.
We do it before the vote, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Nikki, do we have any anybody from the public waiting?
I do not see any public comment at this time.
Okay, so there's no public comment at this time. And we're going to go ahead and take a roll call vote. And Marie, do you want to take us through that?
I can. Let's see here. Eric,
Yes.
Arvin,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Courtney,
Yes.
Danielle,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Hector,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Leon,
Yes.
Ted,
Yes.
and Wade.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have a report that has been approved by the 7-Eleven committee that will move forward to the Board of Trustees on September 23rd regarding our recommendation for the sale and surplus of the Carneros property. I really want to thank everyone. This is not easy work to do. And I want to kind of talk to you a little bit about what the next steps are for us. In terms of a committee, we will go into a pause mode, and Dr. Musetti will reconvene this group when the district is ready to look at the other two properties that they will be looking at to surplus. That would be the Yountville property and potentially the Harvest Middle School property. When the district is ready to do so, Dr. Musetti will call this group back together, and we will follow a very similar process in terms of understanding the complexes and nuances of what of the other surplus properties that the district will be working on. I want to again thank you for your participation. As I said, and as many of you have mentioned, this is not easy work, and we really have to gain a deep understanding of what the district is moving towards, and particularly understand some of the nuances that is driving the district right now. And one of them is for the district to remain fiscally stable. And I think that that's one of the things that they're working hard to do. I appreciate the time all of you have given us. And I really want to thank Dr. Musetti and her team for their informative presentations and helping us all gain a deeper understanding of the complexities of the Carneros property. With that, I want to thank you all very, very much. Be safe, and I look forward to seeing all of you the next time we are called together to support the district in their work. And I don't know if Dr. Musetti has a few words to say.
Wade has his hand up.
Oh, great. Wade?
Wow. And now, so thank you, Chair Franco and staff and Dr. Massetti for shepherding us through this process. If and when we do reconvene, it'd be nice if we reconvene with perhaps just a property at a time and not joint surplus properties. That's just my thought, a parting thought, just to make the process simpler for us to grasp.
Committee member Woodward, you're asking for one property at a time. Is that correct?
I'm thinking it helps the process for the rest of us.
I think that's a good recommendation. I think that is the direction that we would want to lead towards in going forward. Can't guarantee it, but I do think you're right that the next couple properties will be a little more complex than the Carneros property.
Yeah, I appreciate, sorry, I'm having technology issues, so I'm here in our Assistant Superintendent, Rob Mingwala's office now, so my apologies for that. But yes, Mr. Woodward, I appreciate that suggestion, and I'd like to echo what Mr. Pearson said. There will be complexity with the next properties that are potentially in the queue, and being able to focus on them individually, I think sets up the committee for success to make sure that we're doing our due diligence and our best work on behalf of the community. So thank you for that recommendation, and it will be noted.
Yeah, and committee members, just so you all know, we will give you plenty of advance notice when we need to reconvene this group back together again. We would not say within 2 weeks we're springing this on you. We would give you a sufficient notice, and we want to make sure that we have all the data gathered because we know you'll be wanting a sufficient amount of information going forward. And so we want to make sure that we have all that as much as available, and then we'll obviously can be able to answer questions as needed. But I just want to rest assured we'll give you plenty of advance notice.
That subject, Mike, can I make a selfish request?
Absolutely.
First Tuesdays at 3:30 are our board meetings. So if it's possible to try to avoid those, that would be helpful for me.
So noted. I will put that down. First Tuesdays at 3:30.
For NCOE.
For NCOE.
And then just FYI, there's currently, it looks like there's going to be an extension on the executive order that allows for us to continue to hold our, as a public agency, to hold our meetings in this remote format. And the order currently at play only allowed for that to happen through September 30th, but it looks like the order will be extended. The work of this committee this year will clearly go beyond September 30th. We're not convening again before September 30th, but we'll definitely be convening after September 30th. And it looks like we'll be able to still do them via Zoom based on what's happening at the legislative level right now with Brown Act meetings. So FYI on that.
Okay, Dr. Massetti, did you have any parting comments for the committee? Chair Franco already presented hers, but I wanted to know if you
Yeah, sorry about the technology. No, I just a tremendous sense of gratitude. Again, thank you for your commitment. We really, really deeply appreciate your commitment, your time and your energy and your focus, and there's more work to be done. We were glad we were able to curate all of this work to move this advisory recommendation forward to the board and get this first property going for the district and for the community at large. And we look forward to bringing you forward the future opportunities as well. So thank you so much. It's been an honor and a pleasure. And I again want to thank Chair Franco and Vice Chair Housley for stepping up in terms of leadership. I see your hand, Leon.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about some very complex properties, especially the one in southwest part of town. And I think we need to invite some real estate professionals in the community to come and help us understand some of this stuff for these new issues we're going to be facing. Is that possible?
Yeah, I'm going to swap out of the chair here. We do actually, as we start considering some of the other properties that have more complexity, actually, I think I can handle it, Rob. You can help me if I need to chime in. But we have already engaged some real estate and development partners because you're absolutely correct, Leon. The property, we have the Harvest property that, and yeah, we have the Harvest property. We have a developer, I'm sorry, development partner who works in real estate in the industry, who's been working with us in terms of consultation around that. So we will be bringing forth those experts, professional experts, because it is definitely beyond just district staff.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. Unless there's any other comments, Wade, I see your hands up. Did we get you? Did I respond to you? Good. Okay, we're good. With that, if I could get a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I file a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Hey, thank you.
Second that.
And the second?
Second.
As Eric or Greg Bennett.
All right, and all in favor to close this meeting out, say aye.
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 All right, thank you all very much.
Thanks,
Thank you all, everyone.
Good night,
Appreciate your
everyone. Have
time.
a
Have a
great
good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great evening. Bye-bye.